So today we are going to solve the file inclusion machines and this one includes file inclusion vulnerability, including file inclusion, local file inclusion and local inclusion and problems. File inclusion. This one aims to equip you with the essential knowledge to exploit file inclusion vulnerabilities, including local file inclusion, remote file inclusion, and directory traversal. Also, we will discuss the risk of these vulnerabilities if they are found and require remediation. We provide some practical examples for each vulnerability and as well as hands-on challenges. In some scenarios, web applications are written to request access to the file on a given system, including image, static text, and so on via parameters. Parameters are the query parameters being attached to the URL that could be used to retrieve data or perform action based user input. The following diagram breaks down the essential part of the URL. First we have our protocol, then we have the domain name, file name, query string, and then parameter. For example, parameters are used with Google search, where get request passes user input into the search engine. HTTPS www.google.com, then search query parameter is equals to try. If you are not familiar with the topic, you can review how the web works, module terms and concept. I have already done that, so I will move forward. Let's discuss a scenario where a user requests to access file for a web server. First, the user sends an HTTP request to the web server that includes a file to display. For example, if a user wants to access the display their CV within the web application, the request must look as follows: http web.phm get php question mark file is equals to where the file is the parameter and the user cv.pdf is required file to access. As you this diagram shows you how you get the PDF. First you request to the web server and then PHP request get to the app where your data is stored and then you finally able to download it or read it. Why do file inclusion vulnerabilities happens? File inclusion vulnerabilities are commonly found and exploited in various programming languages for web applications such as PHP that are poorly written and implemented. The main issue of this vulnerability is input invalidation, in which the user inputs are not sanitized or validated, and the user controls them. When the input is not validated, the user can pass any input in the function causing the vulnerability. What is the risk of file inclusion? By default, the attacker can leverage file inclusion vulnerabilities to leak data such as a port, credentials, or other important files related to the web application or the operating system. Moreover, if the attacker can write files to the server by any other means, file inclusion might be used in tandem to gain remote control, remote command execution. So let's move forward. Deploy the VM to follow and apply the technique as well as the challenges in order to access the VM. Please make sure the connection to client will be open for the access the data from the firebox. Okay, that is okay, so then all that box. Now we have file inclusion vulnerabilities. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we have our playground. So So let's move forward. Path traversal, also known as the directory traversal. A web security vulnerability allows an attacker to read operating system resources such as local files on the server running an application. The attacker exploits this vulnerability by manipulating and abusing the web application's URL to locate and access the file or dictionary stored outside the application's root directory. Path traverse vulnerability occurs when the user input is passed to a function such as file underscore get underscore contents in PHP. It's important to note that the function is not the main contributor to the vulnerability. Often poor input validation to filter is causing the vulnerabilities. In PHP, you can use the file underscore get underscore contents to read the contents of a file. You can find more information about this function here. So let's see what do we have here. After this, the following graph shows how our application store files in via www.app. The happy path would be the user request the content to the user CV the PDF and the defined path that is via the www.app.cvs. And our machine has booted up. Here's our PHP. This is the description. This is the file that contains string with file name, boolean, use inclusion file, false, source content, null, end object, and string false. Let's open the system web tab so that we can read it more efficiently. We can test out our URL parameters by adding payloads to see how the web application behaves. Path traverse attacks, also known as the dot dot slash attack, take advantage of the moving the directory one step up using the double dots. If the attackers find the endpoint, which is get.php is equals to it now, then the attacker may send something following like it. Suppose this isn't input validation, and instead of accessing the PDF as via www.app.cv location, the web application retrieves files from the other dictionaries, which is here is slash etc slash password. Each two dot entry moves the directory onto its root directory. Then it changes the directory to slash etc and from there it reads password file. As a result, the web application sends back the file content to the user. Similarly, if the web application runs on Windows Server, the attacker needs to provide Windows path. For example, if the attacker wants to read the boot.initial file location, let's see, then the attacker can try to follow it depending on the target OS version. The same concept applies here in the Linux operating system while we rely of the directory contains which is the root directory, which is usually. Sometimes developers will add filters to limit access to certain files or directories. Below is some common ways files you could use when testing. Slash 86 slash issue contains massive system indication to be before the login prompt. Profile control system-wide default variables such as export variables for creation and mask, terminal type, main type to indicate when emails have arrived, sysproc slash version specify the version of the Linux kernel slash etc slash password has all the integrated user that has access to the system. That's also all the registered user that have access to the system. Slash etc slash shadow contains information about the system's user password and slash root slash dash string contains to command input user. We have var log message contains the global system message including a message that are logged during system startup. Then we have slash var slash mail root. All emails for root user is here. Then we have root slash ssh slash idrsa. Private SSH keys for the root any known valid user on the server. Variable log, sorry, var log Apache 2 and access log. Access request to the Apache web server and then cd plus ini contains the boot operation for the computer with the BIOS in there. Which method causes the transmissibility to happen? Transmissibility is called by file get content. Is it this? Let's see. Let's see. Okay, that's correct. Then we are moving to the task 4. That we local file intrusion. Local file intrusion attacks against web applications are often due to the developer's lack of security awareness. With PHP uses frameworks that include required intrusions and requirements often contribute to the vulnerability of application in this way. Picking on PHP, but it's worth noting the local file vulnerability also occurs in the other languages as PHP, JSP, or even Node.js. LFI exploits following the same concept as above. In this session, we will mark through various LFI scenarios and how to exploit them. And here's the scenario number 1. Suppose the web application provides two languages and the user can select between the EN and ER. PHP including language. The PHP code above uses a GET request via the URL parameter line. To include the files to this page, the call can be done by sending the following HTTP request to the following application. To load the English page, we have this. And for the Arabic page, we have this is for the English page and this is for the Arabic page. Also, this is the same dictionary and these two columns are in the same dictionary. Theoretically, we can expect that display any readable file on the server from code above. If there isn't any input value, let's see if we want to read the slash execute process which contain the sensitive information about the user of the Linux operating system, we can try the following. Okay, in this case, it works because there isn't a directory specified in the include function and no input validation. Now apply what we discussed and try to read. Okay. Next is the following code. The developer dedicated to specify the directory. Include language and then get language. In directory, the developer decided to use the include function to call the PHP program in the language dictionary only via lang parameters. If there is no input validation, the attacker can manipulate the URL by replacing the lang input with English sensitive files such as /etc/password again. payload looks similar to the fast travel, but the include functions allow us to include any files into the current page. The following will exploit if not. Well, let's see what do we have here. First, let's boot into our browser. Okay, let's try this. We got these. Let's try these one. Let's try clicking this PHP file. Malware, which we have PHP file. Okay, then let's try what we have here. There we have sometimes forgetting quality of okay, what the preview. Try to read the passage should be the URL. Okay, now that is this this is what it's asking for. And then lab to what we have specified in the file including function. And let's go to the lab to them. Then we have our lab 2. So what is the directory specified in the inclusion? Included. So try this. We have lab 2.php. Then let's try this. Nothing. Functions. Languages. Comprehend. It's to the hint. Check the message. Okay. Current path that demonstrate includes it's other sure about it. So let's go. And this time we go a little bit deeper into the look at our inclusion. We'll discuss a couple of techniques to bypass the filter within the inclusion function. The third technique in the first scenario we decided we check the code for the web application and then we knew how to exploit it. However, in this case we are performing black box tests in which we don't have the source code. In this case, error significant in understanding how the data is passed and the processed into the web application. In this scenario, we have the following equipments. HTTP web application interface errors. If we enter a valid input such as THM, we get the following error. Then discloses the significant information by interpretation input. An error message shows that input. The function looks like language/thl.php. If you look at the directory closely, we can tell that the function includes files in the language directory is added PHP at the entry. Thus the validated maps validated input into something as follows. Index.php language equals to index where the file index located inside the given language directory and named pm.php. Also, the error message discloses another important piece of information about the web application directory path, which is //www/html/thm4. To exploit this, we need to use the dot /trick as it is there in the directory traverse section. We need to use the parent folder. Let's try the following. Note that we used for traverse because we know that the path is 4 level, but we still receive an error following. It seems we could move out of the PHP directory, but still the PHP. It seems we could move out of the PHP directory, but still the includes file with the input with the .php in the end. This tells the developer specifies the file type we pass to the include function. To bypass this scenario, we use a null byte, which is %00. Using null byte in an injection technique where the URL included representation such as %00 or 0x00 in hex with user supplied data to terminate strings. You can think of it as trying to quick the web application into disregarding whatever comes after the null byte. By adding the null byte to the end of the payload, we will tell the inclusion file to ignore anything after the null byte, which may look like this. Include language with equivalence sigma. Note that the %00 is fixed and not working with PHP 5.3.4 and above. Now apply what we have learned in lab 3 to try reading file. Okay, so let's go back to the lab 3 and then we have this file to include, I guess. See, and we are going to edit this. The content for warning 20% message forwarded in lab 3. Okay, let's move on. Let's see the question. What is the request look like? What does the request look like? Where should where is this what they asked for? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then definitely they're asking this. Copy. And no, there is a bit of problem here. Okay, okay. I'll carry it around the night. I think we are going to put something else for this. Lab3.php. Let me try. Lab3.php. Question file equals to then here. Okay, the dot, the dot, the dot, the dot, and then etc, then p the step p, into d, long percentage, पता नहीं वही से पूछा which file function is causing the different transmission in lab 4. Hello guys, task 4 we were again. In this section, the developers decided to fix the keywords to avoid disclosing sensitive information in the password etc files. There are two possible methods to bypass the filter by using the null byte, that is this, or the current dictionary trick, filtering keyword like this. The exploit is similar to we've been using till now. You can see these two. Just we have to add this byte in the end. To make it clearer, if you try this concept, the file system using change directory dash dash, it will get you back one step. However, if you do cd dot in the dot, stay in the current directory similar to we are trying to get this slash is password and dot dot, this will run this slash is directory, and because we moved one to the root, we are trying to slash etc for password, we are moving to single dot. The result is the password. Since the dot is first in the current directory. Okay. So what is the question related to the lab code? Which function is causing the directory private in lab code? We will answer this earlier. He was given there, so I think this fine. Lab 6 and check what is unknown error. Lesson expensive. Mm, fine, I guess. Well, that's what is the directory that has finally we will discuss the case that would developer focus on using to read from the defined directory. For example, if the web application asks to supply input has no that has to include a directory such as this directory, then for this we need to import the directory with the payload like question mark in my language. Let's put this lab 6, so let's start lab 6 and this one. Let's see. Lab 6 I guess. So, THM profile tryhackme.txt. Try at lab 6 and check what is the dictionary that has to be in the input field. Okay, so let's try, for example, THM profile slash tryhacking.txt. So we try this. Yeah, right. What the? Okay, PHP. Then we have to copy the rest of it from here to here. See, let's see what do we have here. Language. Hmm. There it is. THM profile. And yeah, yes, that's it. Try the lab 6 and read slash etc slash os. What is the version ID value? Okay, okay, okay. I guess I copy only this thing. And let's remove it like this. If it took, so should I? Hmm. It's annoying. Okay, let's copy this. And go back to here. Control C. That's a control whatever extension. Alt R. Okay then. Let's try switching profile in the height looking for switching profile. Okay, I've got this, but still nothing else. What's the problem here? I can't seem to comprehend it. Well, okay, then let's try one more thing. Team does ARO of title is less. Let's try this. PHP 5.2 is it? No, that's not it. Hmm. Okay guys, I still can't find it. Let's think again. Anything. Let's again check. This is version 90. There's literally nothing here except for this PHP 5.2. Should I give that a try? Let's read it again. And I'll go with this. Okay, let me try this method along with that one. Okay, see. And then compare the password. Instead of password, we will use this. Or we will use still not getting it. Something has to be done here. Okay, let's try one more thing. If I can to get right here. H oh sorry. PRXIN. Just done. No, nothing. What the hell? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, we got something. At least we have something. Yes, yes, we can read this. Okay, let's move forward in the conversation. Remote file is the technique to include remote files into a vulnerable application like LFI and RFI. Occurs when improperly sanitized user input allows an attacker to inject an external URL into include functions. One requirement of RFI is that the allow URL open needs to be on the risk of RFI is higher than the LFI since RFI will not directly allow an attacker to gain remote control of remote command execution. On the server, other consequences of a successful remote file include attack include sensitive information disclosure, process scripting, denial of service. An external server must communicate with the application server for the successful remote file inclusion attack where the attacker pushes malicious files to their server. Then the malicious file is injected into the include function via HTTP request and the content of the malicious file executes on a variable application server. The 5 steps. First we accessed and uploaded a text I injected a single text into your server and send the content to syntax and whatever the case we hack the server. Okay. Figure out the example of the steps to successful RFI attack. Let's say that the attacker hosts a PHP file on their own server. Attacker.tsm server where the computer contains a printing message hello tsm. This is the file address and the first attacker injects a malicious URL which points out the attack servers also the attacker server such as the HTTP is if there is no input validation, then a malicious URL packet into the include function must allow application server send a GET request to the malicious server to fetch the file. As a result, the web application includes the remote file into the include function to execute the PHP file within the page and send the execution content to the attacker. In our case, the current page somehow has to be showed the hello THM message. Visit the following lab prior to RFI attack. Okay, let's try our remote file inclusion lab. Okay, let's try this. Include hello THM failed to the file. In the line function include okay. Then let's try downloading it to the server like this. I'll do that. I just have to use this with. I guess that was included. Nothing happened. Why? This should visit the URL. I have already been here and I've tried to use apply any technique. I already applied. One is Google function include it now. Failed to open stream, failed to open online 28, failed to open simulator. Failed. Where does this go failed? Still can't comprehend it. Well, let's look at the. I don't answer these questions, so I will leave it be for now. As a developer, it's important to avoid the web application vulnerability and how to find them and prevent them. To prevent the file including vulnerabilities and common suggestion include keep the system and service including web application framework updated with the latest version, turn off PHP error to avoid the leaking of the path application and other potential revealing information of the application. Firewall is a code option to help mitigate the application attacks. Disable some PHP features that cause file intrusion vulnerability if your web application does not need them, such as allow URL as open on the allow URL include. Never trust user input and make sure you implement the proper validation and implement wish whitelisting for the file name as well as blacklisting. Okay, whitelisting and blacklisting for the file. Then we have our challenge. Great, now apply the techniques you have learned. To complete this challenge, make sure run the VM. Okay, we have something new here. Let's see. Control V. A step to test the LFI. Find an entry point that could be via get and post cookie or an HTML header value. Evaluate. Enter the valid input to see how the web server behaves. Enter the valid input using special character and common file names. Don't always trust what you supply into the input forms is what you enter. Whether you use either a browser address bar or a tool such as WebShoot, look for errors while entering invalid input and disclosure of the current path. If there is no error, then the trial error might be best options. Okay. Understanding the input validation and if there are any filters, try to inject the valid entries for the sensitive. First we need to get this file, so let's copy it. We already have PHP. Let's go to the challenge 1, include, and then we have it. We will remove this. Let's try. Okay, this would be test. Wait a minute. This should be. No, nothing. Okay. Since I didn't get the flag, what should I do? Should I try WebShoot? Okay, let's try with WebShoot as well. Well, I don't need to get it on this. The URP, SURP, that's great. Oh, that is Bob. As it's opening up, we should try next. Start grow. Okay. Then we have two more things to do. We need to switch to work as well. Now we have our work open. So we will go to proxy tab. Intercept is on as well. So we have to close it and we'll then again try. And we should have our request here. There it is. Get. Okay, let's try doing something else. Hmm. Where is it? Okay, let's see. We do have something here. And try to copy this thing. Well, generally the flags are in the form of THM, but not in this case, I guess. Capture the flag etc slash flag 2. Okay, then first we will try our normal method. That is it. Oh, sorry. We have to turn this proxy disable for now, and we will try again. The input form is broken. Okay, so we try the next method we have. Here I just dot and then slash again slash again slash. Wait a minute. I think I've skipped the method. Well, it's not like there's any limitations to what we can apply. And still nothing. Okay, let me copy this. We need to use it. There was one more method. What was it? I guess percent 00 was it? Nothing. Hmm. Okay, so we try dot single dot flag and then dot. Still not working. Let's see. Okay, nothing here. Hmm. This was the last method, I guess. Above it was this cd dot dot I've tried this as well, not working. This. Okay, okay. Let's see. Nothing here. Should have been something. Nothing here. Nah, I don't think so. Okay, other. Nothing here as well. Okay. Can't seem to find it. So finally I understood my mistake, guys. I was doing all this shit in lab 1. Guess I have to go back to lab 2 to get my second thing. And here it is. Oh, the thing is I already did some research earlier, and here instead of the get request we were getting our get request here. This was our get request. The only thing I change is send it to the repeater and change the get request to a post request, and that's it. Except for these I have done few more changes. Where's my Firefox? Get it open. Those changes are like going to inspect, and then we go to the storage along with this. See, I have changed the value here to this is what we were to type in the above, like this is the 5 to change the directory or move to the root directory, and then here we cut to the etc and flag 2, and finally this null byte is added to get the things done. And after adding this and reloading this page you will get this, which is our second flag obviously. And okay, here it is, our second flag. Okay, let's go for the third hint. This is the hint you are looking for. Not everything is filtered. Hint 2, the website uses $_ request to accept HTTP request. Do some research to learn what you accept. Okay, And obviously for this challenge we have to go to challenge 3 first, and here's the challenge 3. Now there are few more things that are needed to be done. So for the third challenge, all we need is the same, nothing, dot slash dot slash. We have something up earlier, and just and then flag 3, and finally we are going to get a portion along with 0 0. Um, Hello guys, so we were on to the challenge number 3 and we were unable to find what to do. Let's see what we can do. Maybe we can try doing a post request using curl, and okay, let's do it. So we will use this, and we need this icon from here to here. Control C. Post Control C. Except we don't need the extra parts. Well, this is it. After that, we are going to do the string, comma, method is equals to post. Okay, and 5 should be equal to dot slash 1 2 3 4. Then we need etc and our flag 3, then %00, definitely the null character that we needed. We will lock it down, then we need output, and this will be. Okay guys, here is our flag finally, as you can see. Control shift copy, and we are going to use this here. Okay, let's go to the next task. For the next task, we can do few things. Let me just close this guy. Okay. So first of all, we need to create a text file with a PHP request with home name. So we will do nano and whatever name you want to create. Let me first change the directory cd desktop. Okay, now what do we need to do is we need a file named nano. We will use the nano editor, and what should we name it? Let's name it random.txt, and it will open. Then we need is a PHP command to get our job done, and then here is the execute command along with host name. This is all we need. Control S, Control X. That will exit it. Then we will use Python 3 to host our site and http dot server, and then we need to specify the port. We can use any ports that are not in use, like 443, 8000, 9000. So let's go with 443 right now, and this should, oh sorry, my bad. Definitely. Okay, now next thing we need to do is to go to our playground, and here as you can see I've tested it few times. All we need to do is type http and then our machine's IP, that is, oh I missed it, that is enough for my machine. After this we will try, oh we will have to write the port number. We hosted in a 443, then this 443, and finally the name of the file random.txt. That's it I guess, and then we will use include and line 1 undefined function. Oh sorry, my bad. The thing is I have done one thing incorrect. Let me correct it. Let's open it, and this should be execute exec, that should be exec, and then control S. After that we will run this again. Then that should be, and here we have our last flag that was needed, and with this we concluded our file inclusion. Thank you guys.